Welcome back to On the Clock, our show about making the moments matter. I'm your host, Elisa Gums. Today, we're chatting about how to create a self care routine with Nia Jones, the founder of Inside Then Out, a wellness brand created to help you be more intentional in your daily life. Nia, we're so excited to have you here on the Clock. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
You first started journaling when you were pretty young. How and why did you get into journaling?
Yeah, so it was actually a product of my parents. So they encouraged me to journal at a pretty young age, which I'm super grateful for. And it kind of just started with me like writing about random topics, journal prompts and stuff that my parents would give me. So it kind of came full circle. And then, kind of when I got older, so about high school, college age, I still continued journaling, but was definitely not as consistent. And it was kind of like a crisis management. Like anytime I was going through a really tough time, that's when I would journal. And then at some point, I realized that, I wanted to be more consistent and I didn't want to just journal when I was at rock bottom. And that's kind of around the time that I decided to create my own journal.
What kind of benefits have you seen in your own life from journaling?
Yeah, honestly, journaling has really just allowed me to get to know myself a lot better. I think a big thing about journaling is like you're answering questions about yourself that you don't really think about on a day-to-day basis. And it's really allowed me to go deep in just analyzing my thoughts and experiences. And then also just like when I'm going through tough times, like I'm somebody who has trouble like communicating my emotions and feelings. So journaling has definitely been my outlet and just like better understanding what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and then it's helped me better communicate with others as well.
Inside Then Out's best-selling product is the Better Everyday Journal. In fact, it's gone viral on TikTok and Instagram, and you've sold over 25,000 of them. It's a guided journal, which means it has writing prompts, one for every day of the year, that you say are designed to promote self-love, reflection, and growth. Tell us how the journal came about.
Yeah, so it was actually right after I graduated from college. I went to Johns Hopkins University, studied public health. And right before I started working full time, it was like a period of a few months in the midst of the pandemic where I actually just had a lot of time on my hands. And during that time, it was really like a super reflective process for me. And I kind of went on my own personal growth and healing journey and just realized like how I wasn't being as intentional as I wanted to be in my day to day life. So it really just started with me writing a list of questions that I wanted to answer for myself. And then I kind of realized that it could be helpful to a lot of other people to kind of go through this journey as well. I remember looking online to see if I could find what I was looking for in a journal and I couldn't quite find it. So I decided that I could be that person to create it. And it's been an amazing journey ever since.
What's it been like for you to create something that was so personal to you that you know that you need it for yourself, and then to see it go viral?
Yeah, it's really crazy if I'm being honest. I knew I'm a pretty positive person, so I knew when I was creating it that like it could potentially resonate with others, but I think the speed at which it picked up and the attention that it gained like so quickly was super surprising to me. And then it was also just really special. I think I've always kind of had like a business mindset, but it never really felt like the right idea or time and place. And for this idea, everything just felt very right. And I was just so excited about it. I remember like waking up super early, going to sleep really late, just working on it nonstop. And I think when you create something that you personally love and just resonate with, it's just so amazing when other people love it too. And it's honestly still surprising to this day. Like sometimes I feel like I need to pinch myself, but super grateful.
Can you share some examples of the kinds of prompts that are in the journal and what they're meant to bring out in
Yeah.
people?
Yeah. So the prompts cover a wide variety of themes. Some of my favorites are like understanding your past, love, relationships, growth. Some of the prompts that I think have like stuck out to me, or like even when I was journaling, I was like, okay, dang, this is serious. Is probably like write a letter to someone who's hurt you. I think that's a big one. Or
Mm.
even like what's something you would like to say to your mother or father. Another one I really liked, that's helped me a lot, was just like write a list of things that you would like to say no to, and then also write a list of things that you would like to say yes to. At the end of the year, there's also like this annual review where you look at like your goals, like experiences, and kind of helps you like set yourself up for your New Year's intention. So there's some good stuff in there.
If you do say so yourself, right? So, starting a journaling practice or any new mindfulness practice can be a little intimidating. Do you have any tips for newbies out there who just want to start?
Yeah, I think definitely journal prompts is a great way to start. I think journaling at first, when you don't have much experience, can be a little bit intimidating because you feel like you don't know what to write about. But there's really no right or wrong way to journal. I think just like taking it easy, giving yourself grace, like not being judgmental about yourself when you're journaling is super important. But yeah, I found like journal prompts to be great when you're just starting off.
And when you were talking about, your like college years when you just would journal when you were in crisis management mode, I was like, I feel so seen right now
Mhm.
because I journal sometimes when I'm going through something, and then the next
Mhm.
time I pick up the book and open the page, I realize it's been like
Yes.
weeks or months since I last
Yes.
wrote. So, how can people like me become more
Yeah.
consistent and really make journaling a habit that's part of our daily routine?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be completely honest, I was like the same person for like years as well. Like I remember like looking through one of my old journals, and it would be like every few months of like, okay, this is what's happened in the last few months of my life and this is what's going on right now. But yeah, I've personally found daily journaling to be like transformative. And just really like setting time for yourself. Like that's really your space to reflect, and just to like get in better touch with yourself. I think in terms of just like picking up a habit or starting to journal daily, I think for one, like I created the Better Everyday Journal to do exactly that. That's why I even decided to go with the pre-dated model, because even if you're not starting in January, I think it's really helpful when you have like each day there's a specific prompt. It just helps encourage you to like stay on top of it. But even then, I think just like creating a habit is super important, and keeping the journal by your space. If you journal better in the morning or nighttime, just incorporating it into your routine the best that you can is super important. But also giving yourself grace when you mess up or when you miss days, I think is also great, because like journaling is something that should make you feel better and more relaxed, not another like thing on your to-do list.
I know. So many times we
Yes.
pick up these self-care things, and then it's
Yes.
like, oh my God, we're being oppressed by the things that we chose.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
not supposed to be that way. Do you personally have like a routine? Do you journal at the same time? Do you journal in the same space?
Yes. So I'm a big routine girl. So definitely do. I've actually found to be journaling at nighttime is when is best for me. I like to, unwind before I go to bed. I even play some like yoga meditation music, light a candle, just kind of create a space before I end the day and kind of end it for myself. So that's what's worked best for me.
So, journaling is just one tool in the suite of self care. What are some of the other forms of self care that you've incorporated either into your personal routine or that you encourage others to do through Inside Then Out and the products that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think journaling is probably one of my favorites, but I'm also really big on like meditation. I do like a stretching routine in the morning. Just, I think anything that makes you feel good and makes you feel like you're pouring into yourself. I think self care is something that looks very different for each person. And again, like I mentioned before, like shouldn't be something that feels stressful. It feels like, oh, yes, like this is something that I have to do. I also love like going to the gym, working out, just like anything I can do to really like pour it back into myself.
Your company was founded during the pandemic, which makes sense in so many ways because never have we collectively been more focused on self care. But also, I
Mhm.
know for all of us, it was such a difficult time. So, like, what are some of the things you leaned on to get you through the pandemic? And what was it like starting a business in the middle of the pandemic?
Yes, it was definitely kind of crazy. I think one of the things that the pandemic forced me to do, and I think a lot of people probably resonate with this, is it just kind of forced you to slow down. So your normal day to day was not the same, and your normal social interactions had really changed. And I think it was super great for me because that's when I really decided that like I needed to realign myself with things that I actually cared about, and really went on this whole like growth journey within myself. But then at the same point, I know a lot of people struggled with their mental health during this time. So whether it was from loss of friends or family, or if it was just their whole routines or expectations were completely changed of what they were supposed to do, or even just like that lack of social interaction, I think was really hard on a lot of people as well. So it was really amazing to be able to create something during this time that was helping people through that time. And then, but at the same time, now we're in the stage where, you know, things are slowly getting back to a new normal. I'm not going to say normal, our new normal. And things are definitely picking up again. People are busier. And I think these products are still super relevant. I think it's so important, especially when you're busy, to ensure that you're intentionally taking time for self care and these like healthy practices that just make you a better person and make you feel peaceful. So,
I'm so glad that you mentioned like this new normal because I've been thinking about this over the past few months. It's like everything's picking up again. All the invitations are coming in again. People are
mhm.
having to go back to the office more again. And like, I worry that the things that we learned about ourselves, you know, during the pandemic are not going to like, we're not going to be able to hold on to those changes that we put in place in life, whether, you know, I started taking baths again for the first time because I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I have an hour to sit in hot water. Like,
Yes.
if I feel like it, or an hour to go out walking. And now, like, the new schedules are sort of encroaching on that. So, like, do you have any advice about how we can adjust our self care routines now to meet our changing needs as we're hopefully coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really just prioritizing self care and fitting it into your routine. I think the approach that a lot of people take is like, okay, well, like I'm busy for most of the day, I'll do it when I can. But there's ways that you can intentionally build it into your schedule. And then it becomes just like a given. So, like, as easy as like you'll brush your teeth in the morning, maybe you'll journal, or maybe you'll do some yoga, or maybe you'll meditate. And also, like, self care doesn't need to be something that's like hours long. You don't need to have like a super long routine. You don't even need to work out, go to the gym for 2 hours. I think it's really about fitting it into your schedule and finding what works best for you. And then also figuring out what's most sustainable. So maybe that's just like, okay, you know, I'm only going to journal for 10 minutes, or I only have time for meditation 10 minutes every morning. Usually people can find 10 minutes. So I would say just starting small, and then from there, just really fitting it into your schedule and deciding what works best for you. It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah. As you've been building your brand over these last 2 years, I know you've gotten tons of feedback from your customers. What have you learned about what we all need in terms of self care
So
on a daily basis?
yeah, it's a funny question because I think the thing I've learned the most is that everyone needs something different. No one's needs are the exact same. And I think that's how everyone should approach self-care. I think a lot of people see self-care and like, okay, there's a laundry list of things that count as me taking care of myself, but for different people, it may look very different. So I think that's honestly what I've learned most from customers and brands. Like, for example, like some of the feedback that I've gotten is like some people want to journal every day, and then some people love journal prompts, but also some people want blank space. And kind of can take that lead on their own, or some people want to journal every once in a while. And to me, it's like, although I'm all about creating healthy routines, I also want to create products that work best for the customers that they're serving. So definitely super receptive to feedback.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I speak to women entrepreneurs every week. And I mean, if there's a busier woman on the planet than an entrepreneur, like I can't think of who it is really. And
Yeah.
so, how have you, as an entrepreneur, I mean, especially with the startup, your company is just 2 years old now, figured out how to find the balance for yourself about, growing the business and still taking good care of yourself?
Yeah. So it's not easy, and it's funny because I really had to put the things that I preach into practice from a day-to-day life. So like I also have to be intentional about taking care of myself, because it can be easy to work all day and forget the little things that are really like important, and just caring for my mental health. I also work a 9 to 5 job. I think it surprises a lot of people as well. So I have a pretty crazy schedule as well. So definitely has challenged me to just continue to be intentional about creating that time for myself as well. And by all means, it is not easy. So I completely understand.
Are you the type that like sets reminders or blocks them off on your calendar? Like, is self-care one of those ensconced things for you?
Yes, for sure. Like I have a very set schedule. Like the first couple hours of my day are completely for me. I'm not taking any meetings, like for sure.
That is like a super important thing to learn, especially at your age. I know
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself that the pandemic was the first time ever in my whole life that I was in control of my own schedule because,
Mm,
I've never been an entrepreneur. I've always worked for someone else, and I never worked from home until the
yeah.
pandemic. And so, like, those first few months, you would wake up and you'd be like, wait, like nobody's going to tell me what time I got to start, where I got to be, when, like, how do I figure out
Yes.
my own schedule? So, like, you block off the first few hours of every one of your days. And what do you
Yes.
dedicate that time to?
Yeah, so I the first hour is really just me disconnecting. So I'll do like my morning stretch routine, a little bit of meditation. And then so I mentioned that I work a 9 to 5, but one of the things that I realized pretty early on in trying to balance both like working for a company and then also having a business was that I was always doing like my 9 to 5 work, and then after trying, like when my brain is half dead, trying to do all my business stuff. And I actually decided to kind of shift that. So I'll spend a lot of my mornings like doing things that I need to do for my business. And I always told myself, I'm always going to pour into myself before I give to other people. And I try to take that approach every day. So whether it's like my self care or even like my business, the things that I'm trying to create comes first. And then, I can better give to others.
That is awesome. Awesome advice. And I'm sure somebody out there needed to hear that.
Yes.
So, before we wrap up, your company is all about being more mindful, more intentional. So, I have to ask you for your best tips for everyone who is watching now about how they can be more intentional in their own lives.
Yeah, I think being intentional is really about understanding what your intention is. And I think a lot of people are living their day to day as just like a routine, or just like they get caught up in the busyness. But it's also really important to take that time back and just like reflect about what it is that you truly want and what you're trying to accomplish, and like what the ideal version of yourself looks like and what she would be doing each day. And I think that really helps like recenter yourself with your schedule and like what you need to prioritize.
This has been so fascinating. Thank you so much, Naya, for sharing the unique ways you're helping people make the most of the time we've been given. And thank you all for watching On the Clock, We'll see you next time as we continue to talk about working with purpose and living with passion.